PDS and all, the last 2 points actually refer and point between one and the same by increasing white paper for the black money or increasing the UID, net, so that at least the PDS system is distributed accordingly. What is the fiscal prudence? So this is how the budget balance sheet looks like, the real estimates or the revised estimates of the FY12, and what are the budget estimates. So if you look at it, there has been 22% of a growth rate expected or estimated in the revenue receipts. Total receipts are expected to grow by say 22.7, expenditure by some 13.1, and they plan to cap it to 2%. Now, as and when the assumptions go, it says that the nominal growth would be 14% as 7.6 on that. The increase in the gross tax collections income tax is expected by 13.9, corporate by 13.9, customs 22, service 30.5. 32% growth of non-tax revenues to account for 1,64,000 crore, right? And of which there could be some telecom revenues of some 40,000 crore once we go for the 2G spectrum auction again. I think the 30,000 crore divestment target is realistic. As far as I think I read the last budget, it was somewhere they had given a target of only some 14,000, 15,000, and ultimately they were able to collect somewhere between 1,000 to 1,500 or maybe 2,000 crores itself. So this is how it looks like. He has targeted 5.1% GDP, the fiscal deficit, which comes to 5.13 lakh of crore. Now, subsidy is something like if you give, again it comes back to you, and if you don't give, again it comes back to you. Now, he's factored in oil subsidy. This is an interesting slide, or maybe a data point. He's factored only 43.6 thousand crore of fuel subsidy in it, of which some 25,000 crore is the last financial year. Now, if I assume that the crude remains at 125, which it has been above 120 billion, $120 per barrel for quite some time, almost for last 3 to 6 months, the under recoveries reach 1.7 lakh to 2.13 lakh, depending upon how they go and increase the price. And go back in history, and if you see that if between 45 to 55% is the sharing of the government, simply the under recoveries come to 73,100, the subsidy goes to 73,000 crore or maybe higher than that. Which means that simply by only fuel subsidy, the fiscal deficit should rise above 5.4 or 5.5. So there's no way that he can meet that 5.1 unless and until the growth is higher than 7.6. At the current losses, we are on the crude, so diesel we are almost incurring a loss of 13 rupees, LPG some 326, kerosene by 28.5 and all. And the bottom line gives that this should be an ideal increase so that no party objects in the parliament to it. On a 5 rupees of a diesel, I don't know how even 5 rupees is going to happen. Probably they will increase some 4 or 5 rupees on the petrol. And below is the one which gives you the sensitivities of, there's so $1 change in the crude brings some 3,000 crore of a net difference in the oil under recoveries, and 1 rupee depreciation brings 8,000 crore of under recovery difference in the balance sheet. So if you look at it today, both the things are against us. And if I get into the other side, not talking about the budget, but maybe about the macroeconomics, I think sooner we'll see that crude rising maybe upwards on the Brent side, maybe upwards of 130, 135. Even the technicals even support at 140. And rupee, already people are talking about another 52 or 54 of a level, though it has corrected some 50 basis points today. But I think 52 to 54. If you go forward in next 2 to 3 months, and if both the things are against us at crude at 140 and rupee at 54, I don't know what that 73,000 crore would be. I think that simply would be a subsidy of itself 1 lakh and higher than that. Well, as they say that debt and taxes are certain in the world, most of it is covered. I'll just read first line. I guess everybody has covered in their presentation. Again, a 20% limit from raising the slab from 8 lakh to 10 lakh. Interest, I will not cover. Deduction of 5,000, which is over and above whatever that you're paying. Right. One thing is that turnover limit for compulsory tax audit for SMEs raised from rupees 60 lakh to 1 crore. I think that is slightly better, so that anybody who is actually having a turnover less than that doesn't need to file that much. 15% rate on dividends already covered by Sir from ENY. Tax collection at source on transfer of immovable property and cash purchase of bullion on jewelry in excess of rupees 2 lakh. This is one point. Exemption of capital gains from sale of property if invested in a startup. So somebody had covered in one of the B schools presentation which was there, that startup is a negative. I think this is really good. And especially in a place like Bangalore, where, which is a Silicon Valley, as they say, of India, and every other day you have some 3 or 4 startup companies coming up. I think it's really an incentive for people to have an entrepreneurial bend of mind. Withholding tax, of course, on the interest payments of ECBs, it is just to create that positive attitude so that at least foreign people can raise money from outside, which comes definitely at a cheaper cost. There's one point that I would like to share is that for any growth economy, there are 3 things. 3 out of the 2 things should definitely be cheaper. One is the land, the other is labor, the third is the capital. If you look at India today, and if you look at India maybe 3 or 4 years back, we were cheaper in land, we were cheaper in labor, we were cheaper in capital. Especially in 2008, of course, land at that time was expensive, but real estate did take a correction at that point in time. But labor rates were not that high. Today, if you look all the 3 things, which is the land, labor, as well as the capital, everything is at a peak, right? In such an environment, you really cannot expect growth out of an economy. You go to US, you go to the European economies, all the developed economies, real estate has corrected for last 4 or 5 years, has not picked up. Land is very cheap. Labor, they're going into a deflation state of a economy anyway. And capital, the interest rates, they are near the rock bottom, right? And that's the reason that if you see all the US markets, all the European markets, from the as low as maybe, near as some 6 months back when these markets had hit a bottom, maybe they were down some 25-30% from the current highs, when all the downgradings were happening. It is simply because of these 3 reasons, because all 3 factors there are cheap. But unlikely in India, unless and until these 2 things come up, it's very difficult. I don't see Indian economy picking up. Talking about capital, I think this is one step wherein they plan to, and with the further interest rate cuts that would happen, and that should happen sooner or later. I don't know about that, when the RBI would get into that act, but that should bring down the capital. Labor, I think we are heading towards a period wherein labor should become cheap. How? If you go and see that in last 1.5 years, 2010 and 2011 saw the maximum salary increments across all corporates. But you go back and see in this last 2 to 3 months or maybe 2 quarters, salaries, be it Indian, be it MNCs in India, have not increased that much. In fact, you would have read in the newspapers that many layoffs have happened. And that is one way that labor costs can be cut down. And it is not happening only in MNCs or in the white collar, it's happening all across, even the blue collar as well. So land, I don't know whether it will become cheap or not, because if you go to, barring Delhi and NCR, everywhere else you've seen the correction. But you go to Gurgaon or Noida, the rates are even higher than what they were at 2007 and 2008. So let's see, but of these 2 things, of all the 3 things, 2 should come down. STT for delivery-based buying, a positive. Then proposed slapping a tax of 30% on the undisclosed money, covered really vastly and in depth with the even ENY. Cascading effect of DDT, this is slightly positive. If you look at most of the infra companies and the infrastructure sector or the power sector, where you'll find something like a GMR and the GMR holding, IVRCL holding, IVRCL company. You'll find most of the companies having their holding companies and all. I think this is slightly positive, wherein at least this tax effect should come and play its role. Share premiums excess of the fair market value. Now this is negative for a PE or a VC. If I were to give you a figure, in last 1 or 2 years, $450 million of deal have happened only and only in IT companies, right? On the private equity and the VC side. If that were to be true, and that in fact is a figure which has been quoted off and on and off, I think that would be slightly negative. And with the introduction of all these anti-avoidance treaties and other tax rules and all, I really don't know how P and VC or the angel investors are going to behave. But I think this thing should get clear, because in case if you read today's newspaper, there was an article wherein Fidelity Mutual Fund House is planning to sell its stake. I think that this thing or this example should set the tone that how the fair market value of certain organizations would be taxed. So I think let's watch that. Section 271 AAB, which is on the search side, can be taken care. Indirect taxes, I think the gentleman has already covered. I would not get into details. Service tax estimates are expected into 18,000 crore. How the capital markets would behave and what are the various sectors we can look at. So it allows full exemption of customs duty on imported coal and natural gas and extension of Section 80IA benefit, which is basically that, for this particular definite time period of that, you can attain certain deductions, which could be 50% on 100%. And it is, well in advance, that, okay, for this particular period, I will get the waiver of the tax. Access of low cost of ECBs to power, aviation, affordable housing.